The rain came down hard on the dusty alien road. Water hit the metal roof of Eli's old Land Cruiser like stones. He leaned forward, eyes squinting through the fogged-up glass. His mission was simple: drop off tools and fuel at the border post, then return home. Nothing unusual ever happened on this route, but today felt different. The storm was thick. Lightning flashed in the sky, followed by a low rumble. The scanner beeped softly. There was something ahead. Movement. He slowed down, wiped the window again, and that's when he saw her. A figure stood in the rain, holding something small. A child. Both were soaked, standing on the side of the road like shadows. The woman's white robe was torn, sticking to her alien skin. Her eyes glowed a faint blue under the gray clouds. She raised one hand slowly and stepped in front of the moving vehicle. Eli hit the brakes. The cruiser stopped just a few feet from them. For a second, no one moved. The rain poured. The wind howled. Then the woman dropped to her knees. She held the child tightly and looked up at Eli. "Please," she said in a shaky voice. "Take us. I'll serve you. Be yours. Just don't leave us here." Eli opened the door and stepped out. The cold hit him fast, but her words hit harder. What did you say?" he asked, trying to hear over the rain. "I offer myself and my child," she said again, her voice trembling. "You're human, you'll be kind. Better than the others, please." The child coughed and pressed its face into her chest. Eli's heart ached. He wasn't a hero. He was just a mechanic, a delivery man, but no normal person could hear that and walk away. "Get in," he said, moving aside. The woman hesitated, then stood with difficulty. She climbed into the cruiser, cradling the child. Eli followed and shut the door. Inside, the warmth from the heater began to melt the chill from their bodies. "I'm Eli," he said, handing her a blanket from the back. "You okay?" She didn't look at him at first. She wrapped the child gently, checking his breathing. Then she looked at Eli and nodded. "My name is Nerea," she whispered. "This is my son. His name is Luno." Luno didn't speak. He looked tired, too weak even to cry. Eli noticed the bruises on his thin arms and the scars on Nerea's neck. Something terrible had happened. "Why were you out there?" he asked softly. "They threw us out," she said. "My people. They said I was cursed after my mate died, in war. A widow brings bad luck. No one wants us." Eli clenched the wheel. He had heard rumors about alien customs like this, but he never thought it could be real. Banishment. Just for being alone. "And that's why you said what you said?" She nodded again, her face red with shame. "The raiders hunt abandoned women. Take us as slaves. Or worse. I thought if I belonged to someone, they'd leave me alone. I didn't know what else to do." Eli was silent. The word belonged echoed in his mind like thunder. He didn't like it. He didn't believe in owning people. But the fear in her voice was real. The danger was real. "I don't take people," he said. "But I do help them." Nerea looked at him for a long moment. Her eyes softened, but her body still shook. "Then help me," she whispered. "Help us survive. I'll clean your place, cook, fix things. Just let us stay near you. I don't care what name you give it. I'll be your concubine, servant, pet, whatever humans call it. Just don't send us back out there." Eli sighed. He didn't know what to say. This wasn't just a favor. This was life and death for her and the boy. "All right," he said at last. "You can come with me. No one's throwing you out again." A tear rolled down Nerea's cheek. She bowed her head. "Thank you," she said. As the cruiser rolled through the muddy road again, the storm outside began to calm. But inside the vehicle, a storm of its own had begun. Who was this woman really? What had she suffered? And what did fate have planned now that she'd entered his life? One thing was sure. This wasn't going to be a normal delivery run anymore. The rain had stopped, but the silence inside the cruiser was heavy. Eli glanced at the rearview mirror. The alien woman, Nerea, sat quietly in the back seat, her arms wrapped around the child. She wasn't sleeping. She was just still. Too still, like a hunted animal waiting for danger to return. Eli's cabin wasn't far, hidden near the old mining cliffs surrounded by dry forests and jagged rocks. It wasn't much, but it was safe. As he drove, questions circled in his mind like vultures. Why did she call herself cursed? Why did she offer herself so easily, so broken? He wasn't used to women, human or alien, looking at him like that, like he was her last chance. When they reached his home, Eli stepped out and opened the door for her. Nerea came out slowly, holding her boy. Her robe was still damp. She looked around nervously, like she was expecting to be chased. "You're safe here," Eli said gently. She nodded but didn't speak. Inside the small cabin, warmth returned. The fireplace crackled. Lights hummed. Eli grabbed dry clothes, a first aid kit, and hot water. "You can use the back room," he said. "Let the boy rest." "I don't want to be a burden," she said suddenly. He stopped. "You're not. No one deserves to freeze to death in the rain." She walked into the room, laid her child on the bed, and came back alone. Her steps were slow, unsure, like she was waiting to be told what to do. "I should tell you everything," she said. "You don't have to." "I want to," she interrupted, sitting on the floor, legs folded under her like a servant. "I need you to understand who we are." Eli sat across from her. His old dog Wex came over and sniffed her. She didn't flinch. She gently patted Wex's head. The dog laid down beside her, already trusting her more than most humans. "I was born in the house of Learvalon," she began. "One of the noble bloodlines of my people. We lived in the upper winds, cities that floated above the ground." She looked up. Her eyes sparkled for a moment. "My mate, Oralin, was a great warrior, but he died in the Shadelands War. When a male dies, the female is removed." "Removed?" Eli asked. She nodded. "Exiled. We are considered bad luck after that. Not fit to remarry. Not worthy to raise sons of blood. Only the strong line matters to them. A widow is waste." Eli couldn't believe what he was hearing. His fists clenched. "I tried to stay hidden," she said. "But the enforcers came. Said I had 3 days to leave the city or be cast from the air directly. What about your family?" "They turned away. Said I brought shame. That my blood was weak." Eli looked away. The anger inside him was rising, not just at her people but at the universe for being so cruel. "I came down to the old lands," Nerea went on. "Luna was sick. I traded jewels for medicine. Then the raiders came." She paused. "They called me a wild widow. Wanted to sell me. Said my son would fetch even more once he could walk properly. That's when I ran. I ran until I collapsed near your road." The room was quiet again. The fire popped softly. Eli finally spoke. "You didn't deserve any of that." "I know," she whispered. "But in my world, truth doesn't matter. Only blood, titles, and power." Eli stood up and walked to a cupboard. He took out a small bowl of stew and placed it in front of her. "You're not in your world anymore," he said. "Eat. Rest. You're not my concubine. You're not my servant. You're my guest." She looked at the bowl like it was a crown. Her fingers trembled as she picked it up. "Why are you being kind?" she asked. "You could have used me, like others would have." Eli looked at her seriously. "Because where I come from, that's not what men do." A tear slid down her cheek. She wiped it away quickly. "My people would never believe this," she said with a sad smile. "A human, treating me with respect." "Maybe your people should meet more humans," he said. Suddenly, from the back room, a small voice called out, "Mama!" Nerea rushed to her son. Eli followed quietly. Luno had sat up, his eyes half open. "I smell food," the boy said weakly. Eli smiled. That's a good sign. For the first time, Nerea laughed. It was soft, but real, like something long forgotten. And in that tiny room in a strange alien home, something changed. Not just safety, not just survival, something like hope. The next morning brought quiet skies, but Eli didn't trust it. He stood outside his cabin, boots deep in muddy soil, scanning the horizon. The storm had passed, but the land was never silent without a reason. The birds hadn't returned, the trees didn't sway, even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Inside, Nerea was feeding Luno warm soup. The boy still looked pale, but his tiny voice had returned, asking simple things like, "What's that machine?" or, "Can I touch your dog?" Eli smiled at the sound. Then the alarm clicked, a faint red blink on the corner of his watch. Motion detected. Direction, west fence. 2 signals. Armed, not local. Eli's face went hard. He turned toward the house, rushed in, and locked the front door behind him. Nerea looked up, sensing the tension. "What is it?" she asked, already rising to her feet. "We've got visitors," he said. "Raiders?" "Don't know yet, but they're moving slow, like they're hunting." Nerea's hands shook. She grabbed Luno and stepped back toward the hallway. "I've seen them do this before. They smell weakness, they circle, they wait until you're tired, then they take everything." "Not this time," Eli said, opening the cabinet where his old rifle rested. It was old, scratched, but it still worked fine. He checked the charge, then handed Nerea a small signal jammer. "If anything happens to me, press this. It'll call the drone patrol from the old tower. They still owe me a few favors." She looked at the device. "And what about you?" Eli gave a short smile. "I fix machines for a living, but I've broken a few bones in my time too." 10 minutes later, Eli crouched near the back shed. His property wasn't big, but it was well guarded. Trees formed a natural barrier. A fence, half metal, half invisible scanner beams, surrounded the area. Then he saw them. 2 figures. Alien. Not Nerea's species. These were thinner, reptilian in shape, with black armor and smooth rifles on their backs. They didn't speak. They moved like ghosts. One of them bent down, touching the mud. He must have found the tracks. Nerea's and Luno's. They were tracking her. Eli didn't wait. He fired a warning shot into the air. The aliens ducked, took cover. But they didn't run. One of them shouted in a deep language Eli didn't understand. Then the other laughed. Loud. Cruel. "You think you can hide her, human?" The voice crackled through a translator. "She belongs to no one. Her blood is worthless, her body is useful." Eli's anger boiled over. He stepped forward, still holding the rifle steady. "She's under my roof," he shouted. "That means she's protected." The raider sneered. "You don't understand our laws. That woman is property, cast out, free for anyone to take." "She's not on your land anymore," Eli said coldly. "You want her? You'll have to go through me." The second alien raised his gun. Eli didn't hesitate. He fired. The blast hit the raider's side. He flew back into the mud, screaming. The other one aimed, but before he could shoot, Wex, Eli's dog, sprang from behind the shed, biting deep into his leg. The alien dropped his weapon and kicked wildly. Eli rushed in and knocked him down with the butt of the rifle. He pinned him down and pressed the barrel to his forehead. "You're going to crawl back the way you came," Eli growled. "And if you ever come near this place again, I'll bury you so deep your own kind won't find your bones." The alien snarled but nodded. "She's not worth it anyway," he spat. "The child's blood is weak. Let her rot with your kind." They limped away, one dragging the other. Eli watched until they vanished into the trees. Back inside, Nerea sat by the window, frozen. She had heard everything. Luno was asleep again, unaware. When Eli stepped in, bruised but alive, she didn't speak. She just stared at him. "You fought them," she whispered. "You didn't have to. You could have handed us over. They wouldn't have blamed you." Eli wiped the mud from his hands. "No one touches what I protect." She stood slowly. Her eyes weren't cold anymore. They were wide, soft, grateful. You don't know what you've done, she said. Maybe not, Eli replied. But I'd do it again. She looked down at Luno, then back at Eli. Her voice shook. In my people's history, there's a law. If someone defends a widow with no ties, no clan, that woman becomes bound to the one who saves her. She becomes his heartmate. Eli blinked. You mean wife? Nerea shook her head. More. A soul oath. He stared at her. I don't need that, he said. You don't owe me anything. She stepped closer, quietly. But I want to give it, she said. The night returned with thunder again. But this time the storm wasn't in the sky. It was in the soil, in the wounds, in the memory of blood spilled and choices made. Eli sat at the edge of his cabin porch. His clothes were wet with mud and ash, and his arm throbbed from where the alien raider's weapon had grazed him. He didn't care. His eyes were focused on the forest, scanning every shadow. Behind him, the door creaked open. Nerea stepped outside, wrapped in one of Eli's old flannel jackets. Her silver hair was still damp from washing, and her alien eyes shimmered in the moonlight. I cleaned your arm, she said quietly. Luno is asleep. Again. Eli gave a small nod. Good. She sat beside him, her hands folded in her lap. For a few minutes, neither of them said anything. The wind whispered between the trees. Finally, Nerea broke the silence. You could have been killed. I've been close before, Eli said simply. Not for someone like me. Eli looked at her now. Why do you talk like you're not worth saving? She lowered her gaze. Because in my world, I'm not. He leaned forward. Then your world's wrong. She didn't reply, but a tear slid down her cheek. This time she didn't wipe it away. I don't know what to do, she whispered. You protect me. You feed my son. You defend us like we matter. But I don't know how to live like this. Eli stood slowly, walking into the muddy yard. You, start by standing up. She watched as he knelt down and picked something up from the dirt. One of the raiders' badges. A small black coin marked with their clan seal. He turned to her and held it out. You see this? This was fear. This was control. But it's nothing now. You're still here. That means they lost. She took the coin slowly, stared at it, then dropped it back into the mud. She stepped on it with her bare foot, pressing it deep into the earth. I don't want to be afraid anymore, she said. I want to protect Luno. I want him to laugh again. Eli smiled. Then we give him a reason. The next morning the air was crisp. The rain had finally washed away the blood from the ground, but the memory remained. Eli was building a fence extension when Luno wandered out, dragging a blanket behind him. Can I help? The boy asked in a sleepy voice. Eli paused. Sure. He handed the boy a small hammer. See those nails? Tap them in. Not too hard. Luno smiled, focused, and got to work like it was a game. Nerea watched from the porch, arms crossed, lips curved in a soft expression. For the first time in days, she saw her child acting like a child. Later that day, Eli showed her how to use a plasma cutter. She learned quickly, her hands steady, her eyes sharp. They repaired the broken generator, fixed the food heater, and even cleaned out the drone launcher together. You're smarter than me at half this stuff, Eli joked. My mate never let me touch tools, she said with a smirk. He thought it was improper. Well, lucky for me, I prefer women who know how to fix things. She laughed, short, sudden, and honest. That night, as stars filled the sky, they ate together by the fire. Luno curled beside Wex, snoring softly. Nerea reached out, her fingers touching Eli's hand. Thank you, she whispered. He looked at her. For what? For seeing me, not as property, not as pity, but as a person. He nodded. You're not a thing to be owned. You're a storm, strong, unstoppable. She held his gaze. Then let me stay beside you. As your storm, he didn't pull away. But peace, as always, was short-lived. Before dawn, a signal came in, a warning pulse from an old relay beacon. A message encoded in old war code. The council knows. She must be returned. Or destroyed. Eli stared at the blinking message, jaw tight. He turned toward the room where Nerea and Luno slept peacefully under a borrowed roof. He whispered to himself, voice cold and sure. They want a storm? I'll give them one. The sun was barely rising, but Eli was already awake, sitting at the old console in his tool shed, staring at the message still pulsing on the screen. The council knows. She must be returned. Or destroyed. There was no name, no signature. But the code used was one only high-level alien nobility or enforcers had access to. Whoever sent it didn't need to say more. The threat was clear. They had found Nerea, and they were coming. He turned off the console and walked back to the cabin. As he opened the door, a warm scent hit him. Food. Real food. Eggs, root bread, alien herbs he couldn't name but had come to enjoy. Nerea was in the small kitchen, humming softly. Luno dancing beside her holding a wooden spoon like a sword. Eli paused at the doorway. That peaceful scene, it felt like home. But now he knew it was fragile, like glass. She saw him standing there and smiled. Hungry? She asked. Always. He replied with a smile, though something in his eyes was off. She noticed it immediately. What's wrong? He walked over and leaned close so Luno couldn't hear. A message came in this morning, from someone high, up. They know you're here. Nerea's hand froze over the pan. Her voice dropped. What did they say? Eli looked straight at her. They said you have to go back, or you'll be hunted again, officially. Nerea stepped back and clutched the counter, her fingers shaking. I thought they wouldn't care anymore. I'm just a widow, a broken line. That's exactly why they care, Eli said. Because you didn't die quietly. You survived. And you're with a human. That's something they can't control, her. Voice turned cold. They want to erase me. He nodded. But I won't let them. That afternoon, Eli prepared the cabin for trouble. He dug up an old power shield, set up motion sensors, and charged every backup battery. Meanwhile, Nerea took Luno to the forest edge to gather wild berries, teaching him which were safe, which could heal wounds, and which ones made a great stew. When they returned, Luno ran ahead, laughing with Wex. But Nerea stayed back. She waited until Eli finished rewiring a solar node, then spoke softly. If they come, I won't run. Eli looked at her. You don't have to fight. You've done enough. But this is my fault, she said. They want me. I brought danger to your door. He stepped toward her. You brought life to it too. She didn't know what to say. He continued, voice steady. Before you came, I woke up every day just fixing machines and watching the sky get colder. Since you and Luno arrived, I feel like I have a reason to do something again, a reason to stand for something. Her eyes shimmered. And what do you stand for now, Eli? He looked at her with quiet fire in his chest. For you, for the boy, for a future they don't get to decide. That evening a ship appeared in the sky, dark and silent, shaped like a blade. It didn't land. It hovered above the valley like a judge watching from the clouds. A voice echoed from the ship, loud and deep. Alien widow Nerea of House Lear Vallon. You have violated ancient law. Surrender yourself before the next sun. The human must not interfere. He is beneath the law. Eli's jaw clenched. Beneath the law, he muttered. That's what they think of us. Nerea looked up at the ship, her face pale but her spine straight. They won't stop, Eli. They've already marked me as lost. But they'll never forgive me for letting a human protect me. He looked at her. Then let's give them something unforgettable. She stepped beside him. You would stand against their law? He looked at her with no hesitation. Laws are only sacred when they protect the innocent. Yours don't. So I don't care what they call me. I'll fight them if I have to. Suddenly a soft voice behind them said, Me too. They turned. Luno stood there holding a tiny tool belt Eli gave him earlier. I'm not scared, he said. Mama says we stand together. Eli bent down and ruffled his hair. You're braver than most soldiers I knew. Nerea dropped to one knee and pulled her son close. Then she looked at Eli. I was once afraid of being owned, she said. But now, I'd rather be claimed by someone who fights beside me than owned by a throne that watches me die. Eli reached out, holding both their hands. Then let's write our own law. The night before the Alien Council's deadline was silent, too silent. No birds, no breeze. Even the old windmill behind Eli's cabin stood still, as if nature itself was holding its breath. Eli stood near the fire pit, sharpening a long blade he hadn't used in years. He had built this life with tools, not weapons. But now the galaxy was knocking, and it wasn't coming with kind words. Inside, Nerea was braiding Luno's hair. She used to do it when he was a baby, she said. A family ritual for protection, passed down from mothers before her. Are we going to leave? Luno asked softly. Nerea paused. Her fingers froze in the middle of a braid. No, my little star, she whispered. We are going to stand. Outside, Eli was joined by a visitor. A human drone courier, rusted and dusty, floated toward him and dropped a wrapped object. Eli opened it carefully. An old metal badge, a symbol of the Veterans Sanctuary, stamped with the mark of honor. The note attached read, You're not alone. We saw the signal. Whatever happens, your shield holds. Eli smiled. The Brotherhood of Soldiers was far, but not forgotten. That evening, just before sundown, Nerea stepped outside wearing something new. Not armor, but a long tunic made from pieces of Eli's old jackets carefully stitched together. A mix of alien softness and human strength. She looked different now, still gentle, still graceful, but there was power behind her eyes. Eli looked up from his rifle, stunned. You made that? I made us, she said, walking over. From scraps, from pain. But it's real. She reached into a small pouch and pulled out something glowing. A silver thread wrapped around a blue stone. This, she said, is called a virile tie in my world. It's used in royal oaths. It binds the one who gives it to the one who accepts it. Not as slave to master, but as soul to soul. She stepped close and held it out to him. You don't have to take it, she said. You've already done. More than I ever dreamed, but if you do, you won't just be protecting me anymore, you'll be mine and I'll be yours. Eli looked down at the glowing stone. He'd always thought of himself as just a simple man, a mechanic, a nobody. But in her eyes, he saw something more. A protector, a partner, a beginning. He took the virile tie and fastened it to his wrist. Then, I accept it, he said quietly. Not because I must, but because I want to. Nerea let out a breath she'd been holding for years. Then something unexpected happened. Luno stepped forward, holding out a broken gear wrapped in string. I want to make a bond too, he said. Can I? Eli bent down and let the boy place the string around his wrist next to the virile tie. Now we're all tied together, Luno said proudly. Eli smiled. You're right. Just as the last light of the sun vanished, the sky cracked open. The council's ship returned, low, black, and massive. Its engines hissed as it hovered just above the trees. But this time, it wasn't just watching. It landed. The ground trembled. Lights flashed. Soldiers stepped out in rows, tall, armored, silent. A high-ranking council judge walked forward, his robes shining with gold symbols. He raised his voice. Nerea of Lirvalon, you have broken sacred law. Come forward and return to exile peacefully. This is your last chance. Eli stepped beside her. No, he said. She's made a new law. The judge turned sharply. You are human. You have no authority here. I didn't ask for any, Eli replied. But she gave me her tie, and I accepted it. Gasps came from the soldiers. Even the judge's voice faltered. That symbol is forbidden. You are not of her bloodline. She made her own bloodline. Eli said calmly. Right here, with us. Nerea stepped forward, her voice steady, strong. I was cast out, called cursed. But, in truth, I was reborn. With this man, with this child, you call it law, but what is a law that throws away mothers and children? The judge raised a staff. You defy the order of ages. Eli raised his rifle. And you defy the order of decency. A tense moment passed. The soldiers didn't move. Their eyes shifted. And then, one of them lowered his weapon, then another. And another. The judge turned. You dare disobey? We follow justice, said one soldier, not silence. The judge hissed and stepped back into his ship. This isn't over. As the engines roared and the ship vanished into the stars, silence fell once again. Nerea turned to Eli, smiling through tears. We didn't just survive, she whispered. We won. The council ship was gone, swallowed by stars. But its shadow had stirred something deeper than fear. It had lit a fire. Nerea stood at the edge of the forest, wind brushing her silver hair, her arms folded across the stitched jacket Eli had once used for wiping engine grease. Now it was her cloak of pride. She was no longer the desperate woman who had stood in the rain begging for a stranger's mercy. That woman had died. In her place stood a mother, a warrior, a queen. Over the next few days, everything changed. Word of the standoff spread, faster than Eli expected. Drones picked up the footage. Rebellion channels shared the moment when Nerea stood beside a human and defied an empire. The galaxy took notice. Some mocked her, calling her a traitor to tradition, but many others called her hope. Soon others came, women like her, outcasts, widows, exiles, broken by old laws but unbroken in spirit. They arrived on foot, by glider, on the backs of half-dead creatures. Some carried children, some carried nothing at all. But they came. To her. Eli's small home became a gathering place, a sanctuary, a new beginning. One evening, Eli found Luno and Wex building something behind the house, a small wooden platform, with a flag made from stitched cloth and old tech badges. What's this? Eli asked. It's our symbol, Luno said proudly. Mama's crest. Eli raised an eyebrow. She has a crest now? Luno nodded. Everyone says she's our queen. Eli chuckled. Did she agree to that? Luno paused, then whispered, I think it chose her. Inside, Nerea sat by the window reading a message from a noble daughter who had fled her own family. She wants to come, she told Eli. But she's scared. She says she has no title left. Eli leaned against the doorframe. Then she's perfect for us. Nerea smiled softly. They used to call me concubine. Now, they call me mother, leader, queen. Do you like that? She looked at him, her gaze warm and honest. I like what I've become, but I like who I became it with even more. Eli sat beside her. So, what now? You build a new kingdom here? She nodded. Not a kingdom, a shelter, a voice for the voiceless, a place where bonds are made by choice, not control. And what am I in this new world of yours? He asked with a smirk. She touched his hand gently. You are its heart. Weeks later, a formal envoy from the Galactic Assembly arrived, neutral, curious, and clearly nervous. They asked questions, watched closely, measured every word Nerea spoke. And when they left quietly. The silence after meant more than 1,000 speeches. They would not interfere. Her existence would be tolerated. That was their word. But Nerea didn't need their blessing. She already had something stronger. Loyalty. Eli never liked crowds. But on the day of the gathering, he stood in front of nearly 100 beings, human, alien, hybrid, all come to honor Nerea. She stood on Luno's wooden platform. No throne, no armor, just her handmade cloak and her voice. I was called useless, she said. Told my blood was spoiled, that I could never raise a child with pride, that I could never be a partner again. She looked toward Eli. But I found a man who didn't ask what I could give. He just offered what I needed most. Safety, respect, a hand to hold. She turned to the crowd. And now I offer that hand to all of you. She raised it in the air, and one by one hands rose with hers. Eli stood at the edge of the group watching her lead, not with rules, but with truth. Wex leaned against his leg. Luno ran over and pulled him forward. "Come on," the boy said, laughing. "She's your queen too." Eli laughed and finally stepped into the light. Later that night, Nerea stood beside Eli under the stars. "You once called me Storm," she whispered. "I remember," he said. "Now I am home." She turned and looked him in the eyes. "I offered myself to you as a concubine, but you made me something far greater." "And what did you make me?" he asked. She smiled. "You? You were always a king. You just didn't know it." He pulled her close. "Then let's rule quietly, from the dirt." "Together," she whispered. "Always." And somewhere in the dark, the wind carried the sound of hope. Born from ruin, raised by courage, and crowned in love.